Hello YouTube, I'm Shane.
And I'm Caden.
He's a little man.
And welcome to the shed.
Alright, so off the rank is the camping power box that we're going to be working on. Found it for free, so it didn't cost anything. The reason it was because it wasn't holding charge. Had these two 22 amp hour batteries in them, wired up in series, parallel, can't remember which way it is, to get 44 amp hours anyway. Already pulled them out, take it off, just got a whole bit of junk in there ready to go. So I've measured it up. I'm getting a Digimarker 45 amp hour lithium battery. Fits perfectly in here. What I'm going to do is attempt to pull all of these off. My grand plan is to get rid of these two front sockets, replace them with these ones. It's just another cigarette lighter outlet and a better USB outlet. On the sides, I'll take that and that off, buy some Anderson plugs with a bit of weatherproofing flap on it, and put them, grind them out, put them either side. I'll keep these lugs for charging for some form of thing. Anyway, we'll see how we go. Alright, new plan. So I've managed to get that one off, this one off, that one off. There's too many wires in the way, so I'm going to pull them out. So let's chop chop. Well, here's the snag. Hole won't fit through, and that one definitely won't fit through. So I will end up digging them out. I'll carving it out a bit. Obviously, to fit through these two, I'll have to grind it out a little bit. That's a later me problem, future Shane problem, but pretty happy with how it's gone. So we'll park it up for the day, and that'll be it.
Several days later.
Alright, so we're back on the battery box. Might be a little bit more than a few days later, due to many different factors. Anyway, bits and pieces have come in, so I thought I'd give a quick overview, because I realised in the other video, or before, I didn't really go over too much. So first off, let's have a look. There's a battery. Okay, it fits in only one particular way, so it'll drop in. And what I have a problem with is I haven't measured exactly correctly necessarily, and the old straps that used to hold it in, it's sitting on. So I'm going to have to grind that away, so it will sit flatter on this base part, not on here, because at the moment the way it sits too high, and this doesn't actually close, and I won't be able to use these. Anyway, that's another part of the project. It's what I do, make up things as I go along. Now on that, let's have a look at this. Let's get stuff out of the way. For the sides, I've bought these little Anderson plug covers. My plan is to put one on either side, through there, and through there. I have two of them, and combine that with, obviously, an Anderson plug. Connect them onto the battery. I have two lines going into the battery. What I didn't show at the front that will be going in each of these is this. So I have one, it's just a USB outlet. The higher wattage ones to that, and just a standard cigarette lighter outlet. Again, they'll sit through these. They'll be roughly around the same height, so what I need is the battery to sit below that, which it should. Finally, I just bought this battery monitor for the battery. Never fear, safety is a top priority here. well, doesn't actually look too bad in my opinion. Might be a little bit biased. Yeah, they're in. Still not screwed in or anything, but and some plugs in. They're sitting there, and all for them typical awesome cable management. But we'll clean that up and sort that up as we go. But anyway, pretty happy with how it is. Obviously it's not going to sit on there really well right now, but if that goes on, I can drop the battery down a little bit further. Should fit on nicely. Last part that I forgot to mention that I'll have on there is this Kings DCDC 25 amp charger. Again, not expecting it to be amazing, but from all accounts, works well. I'm just not sure how I'm going to connect it on yet. So once that's on, awesome. Once that's on, I'm not sure if I'll just screw it onto the front somehow, like that. That'd be ideal.
More moments later.
Alright, so it's been a couple of days. Not that you guys would know anyway, because this is one big video. I have my new little rotating tool thingy. Flick it up. Yeah, it does flick around. Awesome. Got that. Got a cutting wheel on the end. And the plan is just to see if I can slice off the bottoms of these and any other little tabs that are sticking up like these. I'll do that, see if the battery sits in, how it all sits, and go from there. Alright, so quick little update. I took out the pieces that I was talking about, these end ones, and then realised that I needed to take out the corners as well. Took them out. It fit in, but only just. So I put my drinking cap on and had a thought. Get the multi-tool out with a small blade. I'm just going to take out all of these little pieces all through here. I'll sand it flat down to the bottom. That way the battery should fit in with a bit more clearance up the top, because it only just made it. But I'll keep going on with it and see how it goes. Alright, well, top's on, covers up. Let's have a peek inside, see if we can see. Oh, look at that. Heaps of clearance about at the front. Oh, beautiful. Park a semi between them. Oh well, let's continue on, see what else needs doing. Alright, so we've got the make it up as you go workbench going on. As you can see, there's quite a fair bit of material that came out of the bottom of this, but it's all quite nice now. I will put something over that just so the battery's not sitting directly on anything that's going to sharpen and damage it. In the top, I've worked on that a bit. I've put these in. I'm going to sort it out with a bolt, not these screws. It was just there for proof of concept and making sure that it all stays on. But obviously you can see the two already fused ones. These outlets at the front now. So we have the positive that'll go from the battery into the fuse and then out, and then there'll be the negative that'll go back to the battery. They're not going to be joined together. They'll have each their own individual fuse. That's about it for the moment. Hopefully now it's just a matter of putting everything together and making sure it works. So we'll give that a crack. Alright, so continuing on, or backtracking, however you want to look at it. I've taken it out obviously, and I found those little feet, but obviously they screw in, sitting in here, and they stick up a bit. So what I'm going to do is grab that rotary tool piece with a cut-off wheel and just slice them off at the bottom. We'll see what happens. Hopefully that'll work. Then I'll just found this sitting in the toolbox. I'll just put a layer of that down the bottom or in certain parts to protect it. If that doesn't last or doesn't work, I'll find some actual thicker rubber type stuff, or maybe just use this. We'll see how we go. Anyway, I'll crack on with that, see how it goes. Alright, so as you can see, it's all on. I haven't fully tied it down yet, but it fits while I hold it on. It's not 100% perfect, but it'll do for the moment. Next thing I need to work out is how I'm going to fit this on. Somehow on the front or the side, we'll have some more thinking about that and see what comes of it. Alright, so I had an epiphany. It's the beauty of having an idea and just kind of making it up as you go. Have a look and see how it sits in the back of the rig itself. So it'll be sitting on this tray here. It's very similar to this one here, but obviously on the other side. The reason I'm using this side is I have underneath the trim panel here 8mm running up the back, a twin core 8mm for an Anderson plug at the back on the bull bar out here. Anyway, I'm going to splice into that and mount an Anderson plug down here somewhere so I can get that 12 volt DC charge. So now if this is on here, it all fits pretty well in that tray. So, and the cable, whichever one it was, well, they're all the same size anyway, but let's go with the proper one, this one. So that could just bolt into there while that's sitting on there, and then that'll still go into the side. I've still got the outputs there, that'll work. Alright, so the best idea I've come up with so far, so I've just cut this little piece of aluminium, and that'll essentially bolt onto the front there. I've got a few little countersunk bolts. Bolt that onto the front, and then that can go onto that. The charger can go onto that, which, if I can get it just right, I can't show it because I've only got one hand, you need about 8 to hold it up right with the camera. Should sit nicely just about there. That way, it's the best I can work out so far, so let's go with that, see what happens. Alright, so here it is. It's bolted on. You can see the aluminium plate. Just got the countersunk screws on. They're not all tied up yet. And then just drilled 2 more holes through the plate to hold the charger on. Inside, clearancing, I've checked it and it makes it just. It'll be tight, but that'll be all good. I might just put some tape or something over this so the battery doesn't rub on it as well. But let's all pull this down, tighten it up, and hopefully put it all together. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so I've essentially built that battery box now, but the little man hasn't been involved in it much. Anyway, so time to test it. What have you got to test it with, kiddo?
A battery tester.
Or a multimeter?
Or a multimeter.
There we go. Alright, let's get on with it. Alright, so this is actually the first time I've tested this battery. I didn't think about it beforehand, so go for it, little man. Throw them on. See if we get anything.
13.12.
Now the Anderson plugs. Oh, sorry, okay. Off you go. You got them on?
Can you please do it?
Alright. Oh, really? There we go.
13.12.
Any other one?
13.12 again.
Awesome. Alright, so as you guys can see, it's all lit up here. I didn't actually think of that to begin with, so we're going to have to wire in a switch underneath here instead of it going straight to the fuses under there. I'll have to wire in a switch. Now I've got the perfect spot just here. What came out of it was this. That's just a momentary switch though. So I might have to hog it out and put one of these in. Anyway, this is for another set, for something else. I just took it off to see how it'd go. Alright, so remember the comment I have made previously? It's the beauty of having an idea and just kind of making it up as you go. Well, anyway, moving on from that in typical fashion. I now have a switch, it fits in quite nicely there. I also found these old fuses I pointed out in the back. The connections were quite wobbly, even with the fuse inside it. So I went out and got new ones, so they'll be replaced on the back. I've already got one in, seems to fit quite nicely. Underneath now, you can see I've pulled some of the wires out. I'll be rewiring this. what I plan on doing now is going from the battery to the fuse, and from the fuse will go, the USBs will go to the switch, and then it'll go to each one, and then negatives back to the battery again. So let's crack into that and get that done. So some people may have noticed the other day when I put it in, obviously I was saying plug it into here. Now, or the DC charger into there. Problem is then, what do I plug into there, i.e. the fridge? Where's that going to plug into? So, I don't know why I didn't pick that up before, but I've just put it in now, changed it around, and it just sits in there. It's maybe not necessarily ideal, but it will still fit in with the charger plugged in and facing that way. Alternatively, I can undo this and turn it around, mount it around the other way, so the battery box will fit back in here. It'll still fit in that way. Outlets will be facing this way, but the cords will be going around here. That leaves this one open to plug the fridge in and have the fridge out here. That's not an overly big deal, more of an annoyance trying to change it round, but I'll think about it and see. That's a future me problem. At the moment, I'm just happy that this works. All right, so I'm going to call this finished now. We'll see. Anyway, famous last words. But switches in, it all works fine. The Anderson plugs have power going to them. It's obviously a little bit messy, but I knew that was going to be like that. So we'll just have to wait and see. I suppose the big thing about it is weight. That was the main reason for spending a little bit extra and going with a lithium rather than just replacing the battery that was in it, or the two that were in it with similar. So got trusty little random scale one on. So 5.8. Second battery. Oh yeah, okay. That scale only goes to 12 odd kilos, 10 or 12. Anyway, so if you 5.8 for that. And set it on 7. Basically an absolute touch over 7, let's call it 7 kilos. So for the same capacity with a DCDC charger attached to it, so it's actually, let's call it more usable, I've gained essentially a kilo over one single battery. Definitely lost quite a few kilos, almost realistically almost half the weight of what it started with. Alright, so I plugged the battery in overnight for a test to see how it ran. This is a 65 litre fridge. It had already been pre-cooled, and I just have whole heap of bottles and stuff inside it to keep it cool. Plugged it in at about 4 or 5 o'clock last night. It's now about 8 o'clock the next morning. The battery monitor says it's still 77%, so rough calculations, 5.8 amps it's used overnight. Can't complain, I'm pretty happy with that. Still showing 1 degree, I've got it set on 2, and 13.3 volts. Yeah, really happy with it for what it is. The whole point of this little setup was to make a very portable, easy to take around setup, which I think I've achieved. So on that note, this might be done. Famous last words.